What is going on, traders? So before I get into the breaking news that Warren Buffett, as a matter of fact, did buy United Healthcare, I speculated this in the last video and I said that he does love insurance companies and he loves healthcare companies. So there is a chance that this stock that he invested in could be United Healthcare. The 13F filings came out on Thursday, August 14th, showing that he bought United Healthcare. So I am going to go into that. I'm going to go into United Healthcare's valuation because a lot of people are asking me about it, as well as what some of the 13F filings by Bill Ackman, Michael Burry, and Warren Buffett disclose. But I do want to give you just a brief message as an investor and as a trader. I feel like it's very important, right? The questions that I'm getting are obviously most of the questions by United Healthcare are, is it too late to buy United Healthcare? Is it too late to buy UNH stock? Too late for who? You made this up in your mind because you didn't capture the absolute bottom. And I like to call this the lost cause fallacy, where if you don't, it's part of the bargain shopper's mentality that I talk about with regards to trading, or investing. It's the absolute wrong way to look at investing. You're not buying discounted Halloween decorations at Target. You're not buying a TV on Black Friday at Best Buy. You are buying a company that you think there is a lot of value there for the long term based on how it's currently valued and what you think the company is going to do in the future. That's it. There is no best price. Obviously, we'd all love to catch the absolute bottom on everything, but that's not how investing works. As a matter of fact, if you look at Warren Buffett's price on United Healthcare, it's $311. Currently, United Healthcare is trading at $305. So you still got a better price than the single greatest investor of all time who thinks there's value in United Healthcare. Now, with United Healthcare, I did say that I thought it would go way lower than 300, and I thought that it might even get to 200. It got to 230, and this was disclosed a couple of days thereafter. So the problem with United Healthcare wasn't that the stock didn't have value. It had a ton of value, and when I dive into it in a second and answer the question of, is it too late to buy United Healthcare, I will dive into the valuation. But the problem is the stock obviously didn't have momentum, and the stock is not growing. See, a lot of investors, they think of stocks all the same, but there are growth stocks and there are value stocks. And a growth stock is something like Meta, is something like Amazon, Google, where these companies, Nvidia, where these companies are growing on a massive scale. And that's why the growth stocks PEs tend to be higher, because they're growing into that valuation and they continue to just break records. And value stocks are stocks like Pepsi, Walmart, United Healthcare, etc. These stocks aren't necessarily breaking records every quarter, every year. They are solid companies with solid moats. They have a recognizable brand. Their balance sheets look good. Their income is steady, etc. So there's a difference between a growth stock and a value stock. And so those value stocks can actually trade a lot lower on the PE scale than your typical growth stock, right? So a lot of value stocks might trade in the 11, 12, 13 PEs. And a lot of growth stocks might trade in the 30, 40, 50 PE range. So with United Healthcare, the company wasn't growing at all, but two, its momentum was obviously based because of somewhat or partly because of some terrible news stories with regards to the CEO being shot, with regards to litigation, with regards to certain medications related to obesity, etc. So in terms of long-term value, it definitely has long-term value. You just don't expect it to grow like a growth stock. Now, before I start with the valuation, I personally don't have a stake in United Healthcare. I might open up one soon, but I do have a stake in XLV. I'm as transparent with you guys as it gets. I told you guys about the S&P 500 healthcare sector. XLV is the ETF. And you can see here on August 11th, I sent out an alert that this was the time to start a position, at least for me, because I was waiting for it to get to this long-term trend line that we established in 2012. So XLV got to that trend line. Now, United Healthcare is the fourth largest holding in XLV. So I have exposure to United Healthcare through the XLV ETF. Also, because I saw an unusual number of calls, and I sent this out on Twitter. By the way, follow me on X for free trading and finance content, Instagram as well. But I sent this out saying that there were $7.5 million in United Healthcare calls the day before. I jumped in those calls as well, made 200% on those calls, but I closed them out. So right now I don't have a standalone stake in United Healthcare. Let's get into the valuation. So for those asking if 305 is too late or did you miss the boat, obviously people are trying to invest with a short-term mentality or this bargain shopper's mentality that I talked about. But if you look at the long-term metrics here, or if you look at the metrics here, for the long term, especially compared to its industry, United Healthcare is definitely undervalued, right? So if you look at its price earnings, you can see here its PE, even at this price, at this 305 price jump, the PE is 11, right? So the industry sector median is 26. Its forward PE is 18. Now this means that the company is not growing because your forward PE should actually be less than your current PE if you're expecting earnings to grow, but they're not expecting earnings to grow that much. Still, 18 is less than the sector median of 24. If we look at its price to sales, 0.59. This is cheap for a company of any industry. And the sector median is 3.5. Price to cash flow, based on the cash flow it generates, 8.5 compared to a sector median of 15. But as I said, one of United Healthcare's problems is growth. So in my opinion, if it does not actually establish some sort of growth, then it will continue to be valued like a value stock, and those who are holding it might be frustrated in the long term because value stocks that aren't growing tend to chop around a lot. If you look at stocks like Nike, for instance, you could see that, or a stock like Toyota. These are value stocks that are great companies, but the price doesn't rally in the same way that a Meta or an Nvidia does, right? So just know what to expect when you invest in a value stock that isn't growing. If you look at the growth, this is where it's really hurting. So the EBITDA growth is negative. If you look at the EPS growth, it's negative. If you look at the 5-year CAGR, EPS negative as well, all below the sector median. Now, operating cash flow, they generate more cash flow than most healthcare companies. So it's good on that front. But most of the earnings-related growth metrics, they are actually underperforming. So if you look at its net income here, you could just see how stagnant the company is. So from 2018 until now, the net income hasn't really increased. It went from 12 to 13 to 15 to 17, 20, 22, 14, 21. It's staying in the same range, right? And again, that's fine for a value stock if you understand that you are buying a value stock at the moment. And by the way, things can change, right? They might hire new management. They might turn their business around to where they start growing again. It's not like their fate is sealed. But for now, just know that you're investing in a value stock. So let's take a look at the 13 F filings of Warren Buffett, Bill Ackman, Michael Burry, etc., and see what they bought. Now, there was some confusion as to what Warren Buffett's stake was in United Healthcare, but you can see here that his stake was only $1.5 million, and his buying price right here was $311.97. As I said, his buying price is higher than what it is currently as of the time of this recording. Now, United Healthcare wasn't even the biggest stock that he bought. He put more money into Nucor and more money into Lennar. Now, that one is weird to me, but I don't argue with Warren Buffett. He is the greatest investor of all time. Lennar is a home building company, and right now the housing market, in my opinion, doesn't smell too clean. So he finds value in that company. He did decrease his Apple by a little bit. He decreased his T-Mobile entirely, sold 100% of his stake in T-Mobile. But you can see United Healthcare doesn't even amount to a top holding in his portfolio. As a matter of fact, United Healthcare is 0.5% of his portfolio, so not that big of a stake. He added a little more Chevron. He added some Constellation brands. He added a lot more Lennar and Nucor, added a little bit of Domino's Pizza. As a matter of fact, he added almost as much Domino's Pizza as he did United Healthcare. He added 1.2 billion of Domino's Pizza and 1.5 billion of UNH. So other than that, really a lackluster 13F besides the breaking news that he bought UNH, which UNH was dying for some good news. Now, Bill Ackman, who loves to buy tops for some reason, bought Amazon at almost 220, added 21% more in Google at 176, and it looks like Chipotle is still 8% of his portfolio, even though that stock has tanked to the low 40s. I'm not gonna lie, this portfolio looks ass. Also, I can't help but feel good that on Uber, Amazon, and Google, the price that I sent out for those trades and the price that I added them to my portfolio was a lot better than his. All right, if we look at Michael Burry, he reduced his stake in Estee Lauder by 25%, and that was the only stock that he owned. Again, someone who loves to sell the bottoms and buy the tops. He bought Lululemon, which in my opinion, there's way too much competition. I do not like Lululemon. There's way too much competition in that industry from Nike, from Alu, from Athleta. He bought Bruker Corporation, don't even know what that is, Regeneron, Mercado Libre, and he added 20,000 shares in United Healthcare for a value of $6.2 million at $311. So not a ton in United Healthcare, but UNH probably still benefiting a little from that news cycle. So there you have it. Finally, Berkshire did buy United Healthcare, although in my opinion, it's not that big of a stake. Now, whether United Healthcare is worth it to you, you have to make that determination. Am I going to buy a stake in United Healthcare? I already have XLV, and like I said, I thought the healthcare sector was beat up, and we tend to see these rotations into things that have been lagging, right? So that's why when Google was lagging, you saw a rotation into Google. Same as Amazon, same as Apple. Even some of these companies that probably didn't deserve to have this growth in the short term. Like Apple, in my opinion, didn't really do anything revolutionary to deserve jumping 15% in a week and a half. So I think the healthcare sector, which has been probably the most unsexy sector in the S&P 500, will likely see some inflows as well. If I do invest in something like United Healthcare, it's not going to be a huge part of my portfolio, to be honest, because I do like investing mostly in growth. And when I find undervalued growth, my investing style is I like to dip into that a little more heavily. It is important to keep some value stocks in your portfolio. Healthcare traditionally has been a defensive sector, so it is up to you. You have the analysis that I did, you have the valuations. If you want access to all of my day trades, option swings, long-term analysis, and you want updates on when I add and subtract from my portfolio, link is in the description below. Come trade live with me every single day at market open. I will be going on vacation for a couple of weeks, so I won't be that active on YouTube. I will try to post, but if I'm not posting the regular number of videos, please don't take offense to it. I will be back and will post regularly for you. Subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. Stay safe out there, traders. Peace.